Hello, this is Doug Gerlach from My iClub and iClubcentral. Welcome to our Investment Club webinar for Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at recruiting new members for your investment club. Joining me tonight is Sean Pulrang in the back office, along with Treva Dildine, and Russell is off this evening, so he will not be around, but this is part of our crack support team for the investment club accounting software at My iClub and the other tools we make at iClubcentral. Reminder, this webinar is brought to you by My iClub, the world's most popular website for investment club accounting and operations. We really focus on trying to build an experience for all investment club members to help you satisfy IRS and SEC regulations regarding withdrawals and deposits by members into your club, as well as portfolio management tasks with reports and features that you won't find anywhere else. You can find more information at myiclub.com. The handout for tonight's presentation is available in the Handouts tab, so you can click there, open the tab, and save that PDF file for future reference or to quickly print it and make notes. If you're watching the replay of this webinar, the handout link is in the description of the video. Also, for live attendees, you can type in the questions box any questions that you might have about the presentation. I'll be pausing throughout to review those questions, and Treva and Sean are in the back office and can help out as well with any answers to problems you might be experiencing. So let's take a look at some of the best practices that we've identified for recruiting members for your investment club. We've done this presentation in the past, but as always, we've updated the content and providing the current information for ideas for how to incorporate and discover new members for your existing investment club. For any investment club, of course, having new members is vital, because without them, your club will tend to run out of gas. The value of new members is immeasurable. By not only replacing withdrawing members, you can help maintain the activity and investment level of your portfolio. You can also find new members who provide fresh insights and enthusiasm about being in a club. New club members provide an opportunity for the prior members, the existing members, to hone their teaching skills. And as often is the case, teaching provides learning opportunities for instructors as well as for students. So having new members reviewing the basics in your club meeting can be beneficial to both the more experienced and the newer members of the club. And certainly bringing in new members can help increase the amount of capital that you have that's available for investing, as well as decreasing your expenses as a percentage of capital. The more capital you have and the more members you have, the lower your costs can be as a percentage of your overall portfolio. And whenever you can lower costs, you actually are helping to improve your performance over time. Your recruitment efforts in your investment club should be ongoing, so don't wait for your membership to decline, for a number of the founding members to withdraw from the club. At that point, it can be very difficult to get enough members and to bring them in and incorporate them successfully. So we think that you should be focused on recruitment on an ongoing basis. If you don't have a recruitment program underway, you should think about setting one up as soon as this webinar ends, and make it a regular operating task in your club. Maybe it's not something that's on the agenda for every meeting, but it should be something that is on the agenda several times a year. Now, if you are a very successful club, many of those have waiting lists of members. They recognize that having too many members in a club can be counterproductive. They limit their membership. And as often is the case, many people are even more interested to join a club that has a waiting list where it's hard to get in. And so that can be a good goal to have. Don't feel like you have to admit every member or to quickly add members to your club. But maintaining a waiting list is certainly something that you can consider if you're comfortable with the number of club members you have. If your bylaws stipulate or partnership agreements stipulate a maximum number of members and you're close to that, then you can maintain a waiting list and periodically allow new members to apply for membership, or even allow them to attend attend meetings as non-members while they are on that waiting list. So who in your club is responsible for recruitment? Well, ideally, everyone should be responsible to take on some of the responsibility, be involved in recruiting members. It can certainly also be beneficial to have one member take the lead in the initiatives. So you may choose to assign responsibilities to a current officer of the club, or to create a position similar to what often happens with education and portfolio management. Sometimes some clubs may appoint the vice president to be responsible for education, or they may have a non-officer position of portfolio manager, someone who's responsible for making sure that stock studies are updated prior to every meeting, prompting members to update their SSGs, and handling the portfolio reports that are presented to the club. So you might also consider having a member take on the recruitment aspects, discovering new members, finding new members, publicizing the club in available channels. And when we're talking about finding club members, it can be useful to identify the traits that make the best members for your investment club. So many of these qualities are individuals will contribute to their success in the club, as well as to your investment club's success. If they have a desire to learn, if they're committed to the long-term aspects of investing in the stock market, if they've got a high interest level in learning how to invest, that's often one of the key attributes. You don't necessarily need people who are already experienced in investing in the stock market, but if they are motivated to learn and have a high degree of interest, that can be one of the most beneficial types of members to have in your club. All members should have a willingness to pull their own weight, and members is often best if they come from diverse backgrounds, different occupations, different experiences, different levels of education. This can all contribute to the group's overall decision-making abilities, making better investment decisions as everyone brings their particular expertise to the table as club decisions are made. All members should be in sync with the club's investment approach, and this is a really important point, that members who have ulterior agendas, who are interested in investing outside the scope of the club's designated portfolio strategy, these can backfire and work to the detriment of the club. And then finally, they should be able to contribute to the club financially, but that is, of course, the last and perhaps the least of the traits that you would look for. Most investment clubs can easily support members who come from different economic strata, who have different abilities to contribute different amounts. I believe that it's always best if members contribute a significant portion of their investable assets towards the investment club, whatever that might be. One of the reasons that I think many clubs fail is that members under contribute. So in order to attempt to make the club accessible, the founders set up so that the monthly member payment is just $40 or $50 per member. For many people, this amount may not be significant, and as a result, they apply the what they see as an appropriate amount of energy and resources towards managing their very small relative portion in the investment club. So I always suggest that clubs should urge members to make their investment club commitment significant relative to their own earning power and income, salary, and savings levels, etc. So, but certainly you as a club need to decide what that level is and what's appropriate for the other, in relationship to the other members of the club. So who are probably not good candidates for your investment club? Often those individuals who are very actively involved in managing their own portfolio, have been doing it for a long time, and have a particular set of rules and guidelines and methodologies that they utilize and find to be successful for themselves. Those individuals are often not the best candidates in an investment club where decisions are made by the group. It's far better for an investment club to follow a disciplined investing approach rather than scattershot, rather than trying a little of this, trying a little of that. The stock market is not a buffet from which we pick and choose a few dishes here, a few dishes there, sample this, sample that. It's much better when you have a disciplined approach, where you follow the rules, where you don't stray from your methodology, and so often those experienced investors will like to come into the club and prove to everyone else how successful they are and turn the club towards their approach. And that approach may not work for to the benefit of the other members. Anyone who has to be convinced to join your club is, again, probably not a good candidate. They should be open and willing to join and interested in joining. If you have to twist their arm, those individuals are not going to work out as members. They're simply not motivated enough. It might be that they're timid, they are not very confident, in which case you can apply a little bit of reason and pressure to convince them that that's okay. That's not a detriment to being a successful investor or participating in a club. But if someone is really reluctant, there's not much you can do to change their mind that will work for the benefit of the investment club. And any person who simply doesn't want to participate are not going to be good members of a better investing style investment club. So here are some of the traditional sources of members that existing clubs look for. People who are starting clubs, obviously turning to friends, family, and coworkers is an easy solution. These are people that you interact with on a regular basis, that you know, that you're familiar with, that you have confidence in, that you don't need to do background checks on. You understand these people. If you think of an investment club as going into business with a group of people, there are certain things that you want to be sure of, and that is that the other members are trustworthy. Likewise, people that you know who might be ripe for entering into a discussion about your club could include church members or neighbors. Again, those people that you have a social connection to. If you are in an area that's served by a local Better Investing chapter that has events, model club meetings, or stock study groups, those can be a source of new members as well. Many individuals may attend those meetings hoping to look for clubs that are looking for new members. And often at these events, the networking possibilities allow members looking for clubs and clubs looking for members to connect to the benefit of both. Fraternal or civic club members, book clubs, other clubs that you might belong to, alumni groups. Again, use your imagination. What are the professional and social organizations that you are connected to, that are connected to your community, and who those organizations, groups, and clubs might be candidates, might be interested in learning how to invest and enhancing their own experience in investing in stocks. But it's also 2023, so it can be useful to think outside the box and think about who needs financial education today. Certainly using social media can be wise. Many investment clubs and members like to post, oh, we just had on their social media a little status update. We just got home from my investment club meeting. We voted to buy this stock. Or we had a report, had a really interesting discussion about this or a presentation about that. Those types of updates, again, are seen by your friends and maybe friends of friends, and they can, tune you out if they so wish. But over time, the cumulative effects might help stimulate someone to reach out and say, all right, I see you posting quite a lot. It looks kind of interesting. I think it's time for me to start managing for my retirement a little more closely. What can you tell me about clubs? Is this right for me? And now you've prepared the doorway to be open for that discussion. If you have access to private discussion groups online, that's certainly a place to talk about clubs in general, to talk about your club without necessarily saying, oh, if you want to join, give me a call. That type of approach often doesn't work as successfully. It seems like you're pushing too hard. But talking about your club and the benefits of your club and what you've learned from your club can be attractive for people who are receptive to that messaging. And Better Investing has a brand new Investment Club Connect program that aims to connect individual Better Investing members with Better Investing member clubs around the country. And this is a new free program. You can find information on the Better Investing website. There's a graphic promotion block right there today on the homepage. You need to log in as a Better Investing member to access it. But this Investment Club Connect, the way it works is that individual members can express their interest in joining the club. Better Investing maintains that confidential list, and clubs that are open to adding members also can add themselves to the club. And there are other matching technology that's being used to consider other factors like gender and distance to help individuals find clubs that are looking for members. Then the clubs receive that information and can choose whether to connect and will reach out directly to the individual. There's no obligation for either party, and there's more information on the website. So this is a new program, so it does there is not likely to be lots and lots and lots of members and clubs signed up right now. But if you are interested, if your club is interested, you can definitely add yourself to the list, your club to the list, and hopefully you will gain some new members as a result of this particular program. Now, in terms of member recruitment especially, there are things that you can be doing within the club to prepare to present your club to prospects, and certainly having some sort of recruitment document, a one-page summary of your club, a short introductory letter that any of your members can share with people that they know that might be interested. It could include things like a short history of the club, a brief explanation of what is expected from members in terms of their participation, their attendance, their financial contribution, what's the club's investment philosophy, investment policy statement. If you have one of those, you might consider sharing that. What's your meeting schedule? Emphasize the social and educational aspects, which are, of course, part of the investment club experience. And then make this template customizable for individual members, so they can say, instead of saying contact the president of the club if you're interested, they can say, no, just get back to me if you're interested, and I'll put you in touch with our president. You can come to a meeting, and you can explore this with us together. One idea that I like, that I think clubs should incorporate, is what I call invite a friend night that you can do once a year, where you have an open club meeting and every member gets to invite some other people, other guests to attend. No pressure, no obligation. Have some refreshments, have a light dinner, have some cocktails, do a short abbreviated club meeting, prepare your agenda, perhaps a brief education session, a stock session, a portfolio review, no administrative tasks or new business, to give the attendees, the guests, an idea of how the club operates. And if you do this right and you put on a reasonable facsimile of your actual experience and you keep it interesting, it can be a great way to introduce people to the overall aspect of investment clubs, the social, the educational, and the enrichment portion of being a member of an investment club. Some other ideas for member recruitment: if you have access to a privately circulated type of newsletter or list, you can also utilize this. And we'll talk why it's important that this is, we emphasize a private newsletter, a private publication amongst this, distributed amongst a limited group, not going to hundreds or thousands of people. And what we suggest, instead of saying, come join our investment club, you can say, our investment club is having an open house. Guests are welcome to attend our meeting to learn about investment clubs, learn about our educational mission to help our members invest in the stock market, and you're leaving it open to the individuals if they want to come or not, to see how the club works. So similar to the invite a friend night, this might be open the doors to more people. If you have access to a church bulletin or a work newsletter or an alumni newsletter, if you can put a notice on the board, the bulletin board, in the break room of your company's workplace, those are all opportunities to establish this sort of communication and outreach to prospective members. It's always a good idea, if you don't know anything about a person, to have a conversation if they're so-called cold prospect. You don't want to invite just anybody to come to the meeting if you don't think they're really going to be suitable. Maybe you can still attend, but you might want to downplay the membership aspect of it. And the important part here is we talk about private and public. Certainly conversations with your neighbors, with your family, coworkers, etc. These are private, and this is all part of the traditional mode of starting an investment club. But we'll talk some more about some pitfalls and things to avoid a little bit later. I like clubs that have a new member packet that once you've got that introductory letter, once they come to a meeting, you can give them a little more information, that says, all right, if you want to join, here's what our club expects from you in order to qualify for membership. How many meetings they need to attend, what are the entrance requirements, do they need to prepare a stock study or some other presentation, what's the expectations for a minimum member payment and a regular monthly payment after that, what it's required or suggested in terms of memberships and software and subscription and other expenses, and then the ongoing participation requirements. All should be detailed so that there's no question for someone who is interested in joining your club what they need to do in order to qualify for membership. And as always, your partnership agreement may have provisions on adding members, and those must always be followed, and you should never make exceptions to those. For users of My iClub, you can invite visitors to join your club website. Visitors may view the club's accounting information, contribute to the watch list, view the members and the other visitors, but not the personal information of those, so they can just see the names. They can view files in the file library, the club's calendar, so they have limited access. One thing that people often ask is, well, do they see all of the reports? And the answer is yes. And the rationale is that these are people who are considering becoming financial partners with them, and as part of their due diligence, they need to be able to evaluate the club's finances. So this is why we provide that functionality to visitors. The administrator of your club can always give visitors more access, more privileges, more rights from the people page. Now, and the message list in my iClub, there is a default private messages list and a default club discussions list. The private message list is restricted to members, so no visitors are there. And the idea is that this is where members can discuss prospective candidates, and those candidates would only be able to see those discussions after they become members, and those messages, unless those messages were to be deleted. So I mentioned a couple that we would talk about some of the pitfalls of member recruitment. So let's talk about some of those. One of the things that I don't like to see is clubs that have excessively high new member buy-ins. Now, some clubs do require members to contribute a large initial amount when joining. And you know, the idea here is that you want your new members to show a commitment. So they've got to pony up the bucks in order to join the club. This practice can have a downside in that you might be eliminating from consideration some candidates who could be great club members, who simply aren't at that level where they can make that lump sum investment in terms of where they are in their career or in their life. And so pricing out those members works to your detriment. So every club has to decide what's the balance. How do you get members to show a commitment without restricting the club from being joined by members who don't have that financial ability to pay a lump sum. Now, Russell's Club has a requirement that new members have to make an additional member payment to join that's 12 times the minimum monthly amount. So it's sort of, you get a 1-year head start in the club. And I think that's a good starting point. It depends, again, on what your club's minimum monthly member payment is and what's the makeup of your club. If you've got a club made up of high-level corporate executives, or if you've got a club of working class people and teachers who might not be making those enormous salaries, again, you'll come up with the right procedures. But I would just caution you not to price out members unnecessarily from your club. Equal membership. If you are a club that is operating under the fallacy that you can have all members be equal, you're going to find out that when it comes to member recruitment, that equality, it just doesn't work out. Using the unit value system, investment clubs are fair. Members have the ability to vote according to how much they've invested in the partnership, and this is all supported by the My iClub accounting platform. Now, the problem with trying to maintain an equal membership is that once you want to bring in a new member, they would have to contribute perhaps thousands and thousands of dollars to match the amount that's been contributed by the original members. However, those members, while they would contribute the same amount of dollars, will not own the same amount of units. And it wouldn't be fair to allow them to buy units at the unit price that the club, when the club started, perhaps 5, 7, 8, 10, 12 years ago. So you quickly discover that an equal ownership investment partnership doesn't work, is impossible, and can't be supported. So besides the fact that it limits your pool of candidates because of the requirement to chip in an inordinately large amount of money, you'll find that even if they contribute that amount of money, their percentage ownership will not be nearly the same as the other members who've been contributing over time. Now, a couple of the things that are pretty strict no-nos when it comes to recruiting members is that the SEC looks at investment clubs and supports the concept, but they also have an obligation to regulate the abuse of those who take the investing partnership concept and to turn it on its side and use it to subvert security laws, for instance. So the rule of thumb is that we don't publicly advertise that an investment club is looking for members. So running an ad in a local newspaper that you're looking for members, running an ad that says join our investment club, even if your focus is on education, if there's money involved, this can be problematic. Now the SEC also says that clubs with more than 100 members that advertise for members may be making a public offering. You know, the SEC pretty much says if you've got fewer than 100 members, you're a private investing partnership, then you're probably okay. But if you're adding more and more members, if you've got one person who's making the investing decisions, if you are advertising, then you're running a security that needs to be regulated in many cases. If you've got passive members, so members who are not involved in making the decision, as is not the case with our style of investment clubs where members vote on all of the investment opportunities. So these rules shouldn't get in the way of member recruitment, but they do need to be taken under consideration. And you know, it's rare that you might get into trouble, but we can't predict how the SEC will respond based on all of the different rules that impact investing partnerships and whether they need to be registered and whether they're running afoul of SEC regulations. So we say it's best to stay away from public advertising of your investment club. And if you come back to my earlier slide where I suggested, you know, it's far better to have an open house where you invite people to investing presentation, where you're inviting them to see how your club operates. That's you know, again, a little bit better, but we're not advocating that you are trying to mislead people. Certainly that's one tactic that people have used just to be on the safe side. You want to learn about investing in the stock market? We have an investment club. You can learn about the investment club concept by coming to a meeting. Let me know. And after they come to a meeting or two or three and they're really still interested and they say, well, what it would take to join, then you can have that discussion with them. Something else that you might consider if you've got a club in your workplace, something that I've learned from military clubs. So there are a lot of servicemen don't have a lot of financial skills, and investment clubs are often a way where young military members can learn about money management, can learn about investing in the stock market, can learn about saving, etc. And so investment clubs on Army bases, Navy bases, Air Force bases, etc., have been pretty successful over time. But one of the common rules is that members are prohibited if they're in the chain of command of any other member of the club. So you can't have an officer with someone who is under him in the chain of command in that base, in that facility, can't be members in the same club, and that's just to eliminate the potential of conflicts. And so that same rule, I think, is valid in any sort of workplace where bosses and staff may not work cohesively. And again, this is not a universal don't do this rule, but it is something to take into consideration. A small business where there's an owner and a few staff members might be able to function quite well. If it is a large manufacturing plant and you've got management and labor right now in Detroit, that could make for some pretty testy meetings given the strikes that are going on, and that type of labor strife would not be conducive to your investment club meeting. So keep that in mind if you are in the workplace and you're looking to start an investment club. I will say that we had an investment club a number of years ago at iClubcentral, and we had members ranged from every aspect of the company, including management, including the developers and support staff, and I hope it worked out okay. I would certainly respect the views of anyone who said, no, I can't be in a meeting with my boss. I would understand that. Or a boss that says, I don't think that it's appropriate for me to be involved in this endeavor with my direct reports. So keep that in mind and make your own decision as you're going. So once your members have joined the club, on My iClub, the administrator can upgrade visitors to members from the visitors tab on the people page. And so once you've upgraded them to members, they become available to have their member payments credited to their My iClub account. If they're not visitors to the My iClub website, you can use the Add Members function from the people page, and then in that way they will show up in accounting. Of course, in both instances, the visitor slash or the new member in either case should complete their member profile on the website. They'll have their own username and password, and they will need to enter the appropriate personal details so that the taxes can be prepared correctly. Pretty straightforward, but it's something that the treasurer can do, and will add the member and invite them to be part of the club. Your clubs should also have a mentorship program. It's a great way to help new members as they join the club for the first time and they're maybe introduced to learning principles. Having a current member be a mentor for an existing member, help answer questions, give them a little mini tutorials on understanding how the stock selection guide and how the club picks and chooses stocks and manages its portfolio. Many clubs might, if they have a number of new members join at once, might have additional meetings where they just focus on the educational aspect, on learning the software, on preparing a stock study, and certainly mentors can do that as well. But the mentor, that relationship can be very important as the members understand what they need in order to be a fruitful part of the investment club. Books to read, webinars to sign up for online, what are the websites they can use, and help them get their education started on the right foot. So I see that Sean and Treva have been busy in the back office answering questions. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Let me take a look and see if there's anything that is any questions that are appropriate tonight. Kim asks, should clubs review and update the club agreements as like their partnership agreement and operating documents as you become educated from the commencement of the club? And this is actually something we'll be addressing in a webinar. I think we have it scheduled for March. After tax season. We don't have any available slots before then. But yeah, what happens to your partnership agreement, your operating documents? How do you make changes to them? How do you sign a new partnership agreement when someone joins the club? How do you make changes to the partnership? How do you vote on them? What's the best practices now that might be different than when you started 15 years ago? Those are all really great questions, and we'll be looking at them in a future webinar. But my answer, Kimberly, your question is yes, you should. Your club your operating documents, and this would include your partnership agreement and or your bylaws, should be reviewed over time. Now, as your club makes decisions about its operations during its meetings, those become de facto part of your bylaws, but they're not often incorporated into the formal bylaws of the club. As they probably should be. So I think, every couple of years, it is useful to review those documents and update them, make the changes as appropriate. Our suggestion is that you have a partnership agreement that's very broad, that says our members will make decisions based on, the group, and we're incorporated in, or we're established in this jurisdiction, et cetera. And then the operating documents, or I'm sorry, the bylaws would have details like this is the amount of the monthly dues subject to change. This is the amount of how expenses are handled. This is what our meeting schedule is. This is how you can get kicked out of the club. So a lot of those details get covered in the bylaws because it's much easier to update the bylaws rather than formally updating your partnership agreement. Great. I think that's about it. I see that there's a lot of other questions that have been covered that I think we can skip over for now. Before we wrap it up, I just want to remind you of the tools that are available from iClub Central, including our Stock Central website for stock research and analysis, including a REIT Center and dividend tools, My Stock Prospector as our comprehensive stock screening tool, our 2 newsletters, both beating the market over the long term, the Investor Advisory Service and the Small Cap Informer. And if you are interested in those newsletters, you can use the promo code Doug's Deal to save on an annual subscription to the Small Cap Informer newsletter or the Investor Advisory Service newsletter. Details are in the handout if you want more information. I will be at the Money Show in Orlando this next month, at the end of the month, giving a presentation on dividend yield and on a stock picks panel, the best stocks for 2024 with a few other high-profile stock pundits. So if you're interested, if you're in the Central Florida area and you want to drop by, please do say hello at the Money Show in Orlando this October 2023. Well, thank you very much for turning out for our presentation tonight. We'll be back in October. Our team is hard at work working on the 2023 Investment Club tax printer programs for 15 states. We're looking to add a state this year, as well as for the IRS and including e-filing for more than half of those states and the IRS as well. So we'll be coming up with our year-end closing the books webinars and year-end portfolio management tasks and webinars on preparing your club taxes in the months ahead. Here we are at the end of the summer, so I wish you the best for a continued success in your investment club as we enter the final quarter of 2023. And we'll see you next month at the next iClub Central Investment Club webinar.